Are you ready for an adventure? Snuggle in and close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Now use your imagination to picture the story in your head as we begin our adventure. In the heart of Sugarville, where candy hills roll like sugared waves under the embrace of the golden sun, the enchanting town of Sweet Haven came alive. Houses, more akin to edible dreams than mere structures, adorned the streets. Houses crafted from gingerbread and candy canes with gumdrop windows that winked mischievously in the warm breeze. Smells of caramel, vanilla, and chocolate filled the air, carrying promises of delicious adventures. At the center of this sugary haven stood the Sugar Sprinkle Bakery, a whimsical palace of pastries. Within its walls resided Sprinkle, a cupcake unlike any other. With frosting in a kaleidoscope of colors and a sprinkle-studded hat perched atop his head, Sprinkle was a testament to the bakery's name. Yet more captivating than his appearance was his insatiable curiosity that led him to explore every corner of Sweet Haven, a determination to uncover hidden treasures and share them with anyone willing to listen. Right next door to Sprinkle lived Chip, a chocolate chip cookie with an uncanny flair for solving puzzles. Chip's chocolate-infused aroma was irresistible, and his eyes were chocolate chips that twinkled like stars in the velvety night sky. The friendship between Sprinkle and Chip was a treasure in itself, a bond formed over countless adventures, laughter-filled days, and shared dreams. Beneath the enchantment of Sweet Haven, a puzzle had begun to unravel, a mystery casting shadows where there were once only smiles. Cookies were vanishing, disappearing from the bakery shelves and kitchen counters with a bewitching swiftness. The town that had known nothing but joy now found itself overcome with sadness and confusion. An air of unease settled like powdered sugar on the brows of the dessert residents, their once twinkling eyes now clouded with worry. It was in the midst of this crisis that the townspeople gathered, their colorful forms huddled around the entrance of the Sugar Sprinkle Bakery. The vibrant hues of lollipops, the graceful swirls of whipped cream, and the sturdy presence of gingerbread folk formed a united front, seeking answers. "We can't let this continue," exclaimed Candy Cane, the peppermint stick who had lovingly crafted the bakery with her own hands. "Our cookies are disappearing like whispers carried away by the wind." A murmur of agreement swirled among the dessert residents. Lollipop chimed in with tales of unfinished tea parties. Brownie recounted his encounters with empty trays, and Marshmallow expressed the sadness of being left alone in their hot cocoa. Sprinkle exchanged a worried glance with Chip, his sprinkle hat quivering in concern. Together they knew they held the power to unveil the truth, to trace the path of the vanishings, and to bring back the smiles to Sweet Haven. With determination in their hearts and a dash of sprinkled hope, they resolved to embark on a quest that would soon weave their names into the sweet tapestry of Sugarville's history. In the heart of the Sugar Sprinkle Bakery, Sprinkle and Chip huddled together, their eyes alight with determination. The bakery walls, adorned with candied swirls and icing patterns, seemed to listen in anticipation as the two friends discussed the problem plaguing the town. This was where Sprinkle's dreams were baked into reality, and Chip's chocolate chip wisdom had a place of honor. "The mystery of the disappearing cookies needs a solution," Sprinkle said with excitement. "We can't let our town remain in sadness and confusion." Chip's chocolate chip eyes gleamed with an intensity that matched Sprinkle's determination. "You're right, we're a team. With your keen sense of adventure and my knack for solving puzzles, we're unstoppable. Let's go right now and solve this mystery." The town is counting on us." Together they set off through town searching for clues. Before long they discovered cookie crumbs that formed a trail leading to the edge of the enchanting candy forest. The forest was a place where the trees were made of cotton candy and their leaves were glistening gumdrops. It was a place of magic, mystery, and the promise of answers. "The trail of crumbs seems to vanish here," Sprinkle mused, studying the crumbs that ended abruptly at the forest's edge. "But why?" Chip wondered aloud, his chocolate chips crinkling as he thought. "It's as if the answers are hidden just beyond our reach." Their curiosity fueled their determination, and with a shared nod they ventured into the heart of the candy forest. Trees of cotton candy rustled in a gentle breeze, releasing a sweet scent that enveloped them. Gumdrops underfoot glistened like jewels, each step sending tiny ripples of sugar through the air. As they walked, the forest seemed to come alive around them. It was a world where the ordinary and extraordinary danced hand in hand, and Sprinkle and Chip felt like explorers in a candy-coated wonderland. In a glade bathed in sunlight, they encountered Marshy the marshmallow. Marshy's fluffy form seemed to radiate cheerfulness, and his voice was as bubbly as the sparkling soda streams that flowed through the forest. "Hello, curious ones," Marshy exclaimed, his voice as light as a sugar breeze. "I've seen the cookies vanish, you know. It's as if they're spirited away by some invisible mischief." Sprinkle's eyes widened with interest. "Can you tell us more? Every clue brings us closer to unraveling this sweet mystery." Marshy swayed gently, the marshmallow version of a thoughtful nod. "I saw it with my own eyes, a cookie resting on the edge of a leaf, and then poof, it was gone, leaving only a faint giggle in the air and crumbs on the ground." Chip's chocolate chip eyes glinted as he turned to Sprinkle. Could this be the work of a mischievous dessert? Sprinkle's sprinkle-covered cheeks broke into a smile. "Let's follow this trail of crumbs and giggles. It might lead us to the heart of this mystery." And so, with Marshy's words echoing like a sweet song in their minds, Sprinkle and Chip set forth, their spirits high as clues seemed to unfold for them. The forest's mysteries awaited, and the sweetness of adventure beckoned them deeper into its sugary embrace. Sunlight filtered through the candy canopy as Sprinkle and Chip followed the delicate trail of cookie crumbs, each crumb a glimmering clue leading them deeper into the heart of Candy Forest. The forest seemed to hold its breath, a hushed excitement hanging in the air as the duo pressed forward. Amidst a grove of cotton candy trees, they discovered a hidden clearing. At its center stood an old ice cream cone named Scoops. His waffle cone exterior bore the marks of time, each crack a testament to the stories he'd witnessed. "Scoops," Sprinkle began, his voice a curious melody, "we're on a mission to solve the mystery of the disappearing cookies. Do you have any insight?" Scoop's eyes twinkled with wisdom as he leaned in, his voice a gentle breeze of secrets. "Ah, the mystery that has captured the hearts of Sweet Haven. The one you're seeking is Crumble, an old cookie whose heart is as crumbly as his name suggests. He resides at the peak of the Candy Mountain." Chip's chocolate chip eyes widened and Sprinkle's sprinkle hat bobbed with intrigue. "Crumble? But why would he make cookies disappear?" Chip inquired, his voice a mixture of concern and curiosity. Scoop's voice carried a hint of sorrow. Long ago, Crumble was a favorite treat in the town's bakery, but as new desserts took the spotlight, he grew jealous and bitter. For years, he had watched as other desserts received the spotlight, their flavors celebrated and their names sung in delight. Crumble's cookies, once adored, had slowly been overshadowed by the novelty of new treats, their allure fading like an old memory. He watched children's eyes light up at the sight of candy-coated cones and rainbow-hued cupcakes, while his own creations garnered only fleeting glances. The whispers of admiration that once surrounded his cookies were replaced by the enthusiastic chatter that followed the arrival of every new dessert. The sour taste of being overlooked and forgotten gnawed at Crumble, twisting his heart until it became a ball of resentment. He yearned for the attention and joy that others seemed to effortlessly command, and that yearning left unfulfilled turned into a bitter ache that colored his interactions with the world around him. His longing for attention transformed him into a cranky old cookie. It became obvious that Sprinkle and Chip must climb Candy Mountain and search for Crumble. They bid farewell, thanking him for the important clue, and resumed their journey, their hearts beating with renewed determination. As Sprinkle and Chip embarked on their ascent of Candy Mountain, the landscape around them transformed into a mesmerizing array of sugary delights. The path, strewn with shimmering sugar crystals, crunched beneath their feet like delicate snow. Lollipop flowers of various sizes and colors dotted the mountainside, their fragrant aromas filling the air with sweetness. Each flower petal was a different flavor, from strawberry swirls to blueberry bursts, releasing bursts of scent as the breeze gently swayed them. The distant peaks of the mountain were crowned with fluffy clouds that resembled spun sugar, casting a dreamlike hue over the surroundings. As they ventured higher, the rocks beneath their hands felt like textured caramel, slightly warm to the touch from the sunlight that danced upon them. The air itself seemed to hum with enchantment, as if the mountain itself was whispering tales of ages past. Amidst this amazing landscape, Sprinkle and Chip felt a sense of awe, a deep appreciation for the magic that surrounded them in their pursuit of truth. Their ascent took an unexpected turn when the path suddenly vanished, leaving them at the edge of a mysterious clearing. Before them stretched an intricate maze, its walls woven from vines and candy cane arches. It seemed as if the mountain itself was testing their determination. Chip's chocolate chip eyes narrowed as he examined the maze. "This is unexpected," he remarked, his voice tinged with curiosity. Sprinkle's sprinkle hat bobbed as he glanced around, puzzled. "How do we navigate through this tangled maze?" Chip looked at Sprinkle with determination. "We've come this far together. We can figure this out together." With determination in their hearts, Sprinkle and Chip stepped into the maze. The candy cane arches stretched in every direction, forming a complex network of paths that led deeper into the heart of the maze. As they ventured forth, they encountered twists and turns that seemed designed to confuse and challenge them. At times, the path split into multiple options, each path lined with candy treats that tempted them with their sweetness. But Sprinkle and Chip knew that distractions could lead them astray. They followed the path that felt right, ignoring the alluring treats that tried to lead them off course. Hours turned into what felt like an eternity. As the maze's twists and turns seemed to blur together, Sprinkle and Chip found themselves at a crossroads, their viewpoints diverging on which path to choose. Sprinkle's adventurous spirit inclined them to follow the glittering trail of candy treats to the left, while Chip's attention to detail urged them to take the path on the right, where the path seemed less obscured. A moment of hesitation hung between them, their eyes reflecting the uncertainty in their hearts. "I think we should go left," Sprinkle insisted, his voice filled with conviction. "The treats seem like a clue." Chip, however, countered, "But the right path seems more straightforward. It might lead us to the heart of the maze." Frustration knitted their brows. With a nod, Sprinkle offered, "How about this? We take turns choosing the path. We'll compromise, trusting that each choice leads us forward. Chip's hesitant smile mirrored his acceptance. That sounds fair. We'll put our trust in each other, regardless of the path. With a shared decision to alternate their choices, they wove their way through the maze. Their willingness to trust each other's judgment became their greatest asset as they conquered the maze. Sprinkle and Chip finally found themselves standing before a magnificent candy archway as they wandered out of the maze at the top of the mountain. The air atop Candy Mountain was crisp and tinged with anticipation as Sprinkle and Chip reached its peak. A grand cookie jar adorned with frosting swirls and sugar crystals stood prominently against the horizon. This was the home of Crumble, the mysterious thief behind the disappearing cookies. Gingerly, Sprinkle and Chip approached the cookie jar, their hearts pounding like the beat of a sugar drum. As they stood before it, they couldn't help but feel a mixture of curiosity and fear. The jar's lid was slightly ajar, revealing a dim interior that seemed to whisper secrets. With a deep breath, Chip pushed through his fear and called out, "Crumble, we know you're in there. We want to talk." A shuffling sound echoed from within, and then the lid creaked open. Out stepped Crumble, a cookie with crumbled edges and a permanent frown etched into his chocolate chip face. His eyes held a glint of surprise at the sight of the determined duo. "Why have you come here?" Crumble's voice was a mixture of bitterness and weariness, as if he had carried his grudge for a long time. "We've come to understand why the cookies have been disappearing," Sprinkle said, his sprinkle hat tilting earnestly. "We believe there's a reason behind your actions." Crumble's frown deepened, but a spark of curiosity danced in his eyes. "You think you can understand my heartache?" Chip stepped forward, his voice gentle but resolute. "We've heard the tales, Crumble. The stories of your longing for attention and the pain it's caused you. But taking away cookies won't fill that void." Crumble's eyes glistened with a mix of sorrow and defensiveness. "No one cared for me when they devoured my cookies with delight. I wanted to be special, to be savored." "Everyone in Sweet Haven deserves happiness," Sprinkle replied, his rainbow frosting shimmering in the sunlight. "Taking away something that brings joy to others is not right." Crumble chuckled dryly, his voice like the rustling of leaves. "Joy, huh? You think they deserve joy more than I do?" "Everyone deserves joy, Crumble, but it's not something you can take by force. True happiness comes from sharing and friendship," said Chip. Crumble's expression shifted from annoyance to contemplation. He looked down at the town nestled at the bottom of the mountain, where the desert residents went about their day with puzzled expressions. A hint of regret flickered in his eyes. "You might be right," Crumble murmured, his voice softer now. "I've been so focused on myself that I lost sight of what truly matters." Sprinkle and Chip approached Crumble cautiously, their kindness radiating. "It's never too late to change," Sprinkle said gently. "You can be part of making Sweet Haven a better place." Crumble sighed, his shoulders slumping. Chip continued, his chocolate chip eyes earnest and unwavering. "Crumble," he began, his voice gentle but firm, "we've all made mistakes, but it takes strength to admit them and make things right. The town's happiness has been affected, and they deserve their cookies back and an apology." Crumble's gaze wavered, torn between his pride and a growing realization of the consequences of his actions. Chip's words were weaving a persuasive web around Crumble's heart. "Think about how much joy sharing brings. Imagine the smiles you could bring back to the dessert residents by showing them that you're willing to change and be a part of this sweet community. Sprinkle chimed in, his rainbow frosting shimmering like a beacon of hope. Crumble, true friendship and happiness come from being kind and selfless. Apologizing isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of growth. Crumble's eyes glistened with emotion, a mixture of regret and longing. The weight of his actions hung heavy in the air, the mountain breeze carrying his internal struggle. Finally, with a deep sigh, he nodded. "You're right," he admitted, his voice softer than before. "I've been so focused on myself that I've hurt others. It's time to make amends." As the trio descended the mountain, Chip's words lingered in Crumble's thoughts like a compass guiding him towards forgiveness. And as they re-entered Sweet Haven, Crumble knew he had a difficult journey ahead, but he was ready to face it with newfound courage and humility. When they reached the town, the dessert residents gathered, their eyes wide with curiosity and a glimmer of hope. Crumble cleared his throat, his voice echoing through the sugar-scented air. "Ladies and gentlemen, dessert friends, I stand before you today with a heavy heart and a humbled spirit. I've been selfish and jealous, and I apologize for taking the cookies." The crowd murmured in surprise and exchanged glances, clearly taken aback by Crumble's unexpected confession. "It's time for me to share the cookies and be part of this sweet community," Crumble continued, his voice growing stronger. "I've witnessed the joy and warmth that comes from friendship, and I realize now that I've been missing out on something truly special." A wave of whispers and smiles swept through the crowd as the town welcomed Crumble back. Candy Cane, the peppermint stick who owned the Sugar Sprinkle Bakery, stepped forward, her voice carrying a warmth that melted away any lingering doubts. "Dear Crumble," she began, her tone sincere, "we've missed you terribly. Your cookies brought joy to our lives, and we failed to appreciate their sweetness until they were gone." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd as candy hearts thumped with remorse. "We were wrong not to see the value of your creations, and we're sorry for any hurt we've caused." Crumble's heart swelled as he looked at the faces before him, faces that had once been filled with confusion and sorrow. Now, those faces held genuine regret and a longing for friendship. Tears glistened in his eyes as he found himself welcomed back into the fold, not as an outcast, but as a cherished member of the community. The townspeople, once divided by the mystery, now stood united in their desire to mend the bonds that had been strained. With each heartfelt apology, the air was infused with a sense of healing, a sweetness that went beyond the sugary treats they all adored. And so, in the heart of a world made of sweets, Sprinkle, Chip, and Crumble learned that sharing kindness, friendship, and humility could turn even the bitterest of desserts into something wonderfully sweet.